the heart of all things family. Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your family, your friends, your relatives, anybody. Nobody's off limits here. And yes, I do talk with my hands. Everybody laughs at me when I do that. I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. You, just you. Call me at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. If you go to drclaudia.net, drclaudia.net, just click on the Ask Me button and zip over a question, which many of you do in the middle of the night because you're not sleeping. You're worried about things. Call me. We'll work it out. We'll get you from this lily pad to the next lily pad. And the next thing you know, you're out of the swamp and you can live your life. There's no political innuendo there. So just stop with that. So what we're going to do is go right to the questions and see what we can do to help some folks. Now, Paula, she's 22 years old, and she lives with her best friend. And she sent a question to me that I am certain either you're experiencing, but more likely you have a friend or possibly a kid, a semi-adult, the young adult kid who is experiencing problems with roommates. She says, I live with my best friend. We've lived together for 2 years, and we're in the middle of a full-blown love-hate relationship. Ooh, that can't be good. I can't live with her like this, and she's very defensive when I try to talk with her about it. Any ideas? I care about her, but I'm miserable. Wow, look at that dichotomy. You want to help, but to what extent do you want to sacrifice yourself to help someone? And when you're living with them, that intimacy is unavoidable. So my read on this, if she's been your friend for such a long time that you've lived with her for 2 years and you do call her your best friend, Paula, that you really know a lot about her and maybe these behaviors are a deviation from what you expected. So you're saying that she's reluctant to even talk to you about it. So she might be overwhelmed and anxious by the other things going on in her life. She's afraid of the outcome. Now, look at this. Talk about avoiding and then bringing to you what you're trying to avoid. She is afraid possibly of the outcome of the conversation, which means you move out or I'm moving out. So she thinks that by sticking her head in the sand, she is going to, everything's going to magically disappear. No. And she's paralyzed with something going on that you may not know about. And she's perfectly happy to live with the status quo. Now, if you can't talk with her, the next best thing is writing her a very brief note. Very brief. Here's why I'm asking you to do that. People cannot hear when they're upset. Think about the last time you saw a cop trying to get somebody who's hysterical under control. What is the cop saying? Put your hands on the hood, sir. Put your hands on the hood, sir. Well, and sometimes it's ma'am. Because heaven knows we can all get a little wacky when we're upset and we're trying to make our case. And it's not going to be solved out on the street. It's going to be solved in a courtroom or somewhere else. But the cop knows his job right now is to maintain safety. And that's your job too. Write her a very brief note and tell her the one problem that you think is interfering with the satisfaction of the relationship and the living arrangements, and propose one or two things that can make life easier, more acceptable to you, more tolerable to you, it sounds like at this point. And then stand back and see if she makes an effort. Does she change her attitude? Is it more positive? Is she making a genuine effort to get the situation resolved? If not, it may be time to break up. She may not be willing to share with you what's going on. And certainly if she becomes abusive or takes advantage of you in some way. And if she doesn't accept the plan, that means it's all on you to fix it. And that's not the way adults work. So from a brain biology perspective, you're likely to be curious to know how you can feel so much empathy and compassion and caring and commitment to someone. And on the other hand, it's, can you get a little further away from me? Because, darling, you're on my last nerve. And this is not what I signed up for. And we see this, of course, happens in romantic relationships, too. You can understand, once I tell you about how the brain works, why people can commit crimes of passion. They put 4 slugs in the chest of a person they say they love the most in all the world. And that's because love and hate share some of the same brain circuitry, even though they appear to be opposites. So they're traveling on the same road. Now, love and hate can be irrational. You can be wildly in love and be irrational. You can be wildly in hate and be irrational. And both of these feelings can cause you shame and humiliation, and sometimes they'll cause you to need bail money. So what happens is one of the brain parts involved in love and hate is related to, oh, this makes so much sense, to feelings of contempt and disgust, which is where you are, Paula, right now. And they're also part of the motor system that makes you prone to taking action, which is what you did at, very early this morning when you reached out to me and said, I've had enough. What can I do? The major difference here is that part of the brain associated with judgment and reasoning are activated when you're in love. And so what happens is when you are truly in love, those brain parts actually become deactivated. So if you're maybe in lust, they're activated. When you're in love, they're deactivated. Remember the last show, I told you that when you're in love, you have trouble with making sound decisions because it's as if you've had a couple of drinks. Now, when you are in hate, the parts of the brain that control rational thinking, which is what you did, you said, I've got to find an answer here. Who can I go to give me some guidelines as to why this is happening so that I don't completely throw away this relationship and maybe there's something to salvage. So when you are in having bouts of hate and derision and contempt, only a small part of the area goes dark. So love has no rationality. Real love has no rationality. Lust has rationality because you need all of that thinking skills in order to get what you want. But hate has a little bit. So you really can't say that you've committed a crime of passion because you are responsible still. Now that we know about this, it has a very large role to play in criminal cases and criminality. Let's look at your goals, Paula. You want to do what you can to save the relationship because clearly it's long-term. It means something to you, but you are not expected to sacrifice yourself on the altar of whatever's going on with her. So be prepared to leave. Make sure you have plan B, the backup plan, so that when you decide you want to blow this pop stand and get out of this situation because she's devolving into mental illness or she has a depression or she's got something, a big ticket item going on that's causing such a change in her presentation, you may not be safe. So I'm encouraging you to consider your own safety. Maybe she's involved in drugs. My gosh, the opioid epidemic is impacting so many people we would not expect. And you just really have no idea. And since she's not talking to you, that tells me that she's ashamed. And if she's ashamed, she's going to go to whatever lengths she needs to in order to keep her cover. So, Paula, I'd love to hear back from you. And if you'll let us know how things worked out, I'll worry about you less. So just do me that favor. I won't be up in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock to get your emails. I saw something that was really adorable. And Mike, Christina, do you all watch This Is Us, that series? Okay. There is... Now, what has happened, because, spoiler alert, we all know that the crock pot, which was old, and the neighbors gave it to them, it was They had to dust it off and clean it off. So it was old, and they've used it for a long time, the Pearsons. And then one night they didn't turn it off, and it caused the fire, which eventually led to Jack's death. Now, the crock pot makers have had to come out with a campaign saying, all of our crock pots don't catch fire. Would you please not do that? Now, Etsy, ETSY, which I call the Worldwide Craft Fair, and Amazon.com, and I'm going to put this on my show notes, so go right to it. They are offering a decal for your crock pot that says, unplug me, and there's a heart, and it says Jack. Or don't forget to unplug me. Love, Jack. So it's a very 70s looking thing. Some of it's a little sarcastic. There's another one with Jack looking very hot. How can he avoid it? Anyway, what a gorgeous guy. Great actor. We will be back, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened to one of our listeners when she took a stand against her intrusive mother-in-law. Oh, my, oh, my. We'll be right back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727. Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back. It's great to have you. As promised, I said we were going to be moving right on to the next caller or question. Happens to be a question. And I knew it. I told producer Mike over here, I told him there was going to be blowback, major blowback from the segments that I did last week regarding the intrusive mother-in-law. And I'm not apologizing for any of it. I'm not going to apologize for any of it. My friends thought it was fabulous because they've been down that road. And it was the yellow brick road, all right. So, Carrie, bless your heart, Carrie. I'll pray for you. Carrie is saying, now Carrie is 4 months pregnant. And she doesn't say how long she's been married, but she likes her husband, which is a good thing. I'm married to a great guy. We're expecting our first child in 4 months. How exciting is that? Oh, my gosh. My mother-in-law lives close by. Yeah. Okay. And what did I say last week? When you get married, if you rent, if you're thinking of living near your in-laws, you rent. Do not buy, rent. See how it goes. And if everybody can behave themselves and act like adults, then you might want to consider buying in the neighborhood. But yeah, people change when these major events happen. And Carrie wasn't, I wasn't on the air when Carrie got pregnant. My mother-in-law lives close by and stops in frequently, unannounced, unexpected, and yes, unwelcome. Ooh, okay. I heard your show Sunday and decided to have the podcast queued up for when she stopped by. And of course she did. Okay, I see what's happening here. Now, apparently, Carrie's husband does not have the heart or the words or whatever to put some boundaries on his mother. And so now it's up to Carrie. And that is de rigueur. That seems to be what goes on. So mother-in-law was stunned to hear the things you were saying, Dr. Claudia, and said that kind of mother-in-law, quote, must be a nightmare to live with. Oh, you couldn't have set this up better. I looked straight at her and said, sit down, we need to talk. She cried throughout the conversation, and I didn't comfort her. Carrie, that was an excellent move. When people come into a therapist's office, just a little aside here, when people come into a therapist's office, we are taught not to say, oh, now, everything's just going to be fine. Now, there, dear, because anxiety propels people to action. Isn't that what I was talking about a minute ago? That brain circuitry that propels you to action. If you are miserable enough, if you have hit rock bottom, you will do something about your bad self. So this is what Carrie's doing. When I was done, now she underlined that, which told me that she took control instead of letting mother-in-law take control, because clearly she had to vent. I asked her to leave so I could rest. Where do I go from here? So I see what happens. You use me to set the fire, and then you walk away. All right, now, you're darling. I'm sure you are. But that was a very creative way to get me to do your dirty work, and I'm happy to do it. I'm assuming you haven't heard from her. I'm assuming her son has not heard from her. Did you share with him how you did this? I completely approve, and I want you to play this podcast back for him because I approve. If he could not bring himself to either jeopardize his relationship, or maybe he's afraid of his mother, or he doesn't want to hurt her feelings, which none of us want to do. But sometimes, if you're going to make that omelet, baby, you got to crack those eggs. And so she needed to hear this. Because what I said in that podcast, and in the show last week, and what you heard in the podcast, is that we are working on making the future better. And so we are going to have to suffer the pain now. And you are doing that because when you get more pregnant, you are going to have more intrusion and you're going to have less ability to deal with it. It's like what I just said to Paula. When people are upset, they cannot hear. I'm sure she heard enough, and she certainly felt enough to know where you stand. I don't know what she walked away with. Was it, we don't want to have anything to do with you? We don't want you to be in our lives. What did she hear? So it's on you now, because you did light the match and the bonfire is ablaze in the backyard. You need to write her a note thanking her for listening to you and telling her, I felt a need to do this because when I see you, I want to feel good about it. I need you to respect our boundaries, and I want us all to be a loving, caring family. Because right now, she's probably feeling like you've thrown her on the trash heap and set the fire. So tell her that you'd like to talk with her and make a plan for a new relationship. Now, I wouldn't call her again because people who are upset do not hear things. They go deaf. I find as I get a little older and I'm looking for a new address and the radio's on and my rock and roll is really playing, I have to turn it down in order to see the street signs. I'm not really sure how all of that works, but it's hilarious. My husband saw it. He goes, "What did you just do?" I said, "I don't know. I can't see when something's in my ears." So because I don't trust her, she obviously has some poor judgment. I would make sure that you take a screenshot, a photo of what you've written so she can't come back and say, "Oh, but your wife said this and your wife said that." No. So, she can't bust you on that. Be honest, be kind, lay out 2 behaviors. This whole stopping by thing. Oh, my God, you can't even have any privacy. Let her know how disturbing it is and it's intrusive. And we want you to be involved. We don't want you to be intrusive. And give her a link to the podcast so she can really listen to what I said, and make sure that you let her know that I was speaking her mind, your mind, and that she needs to understand how devastating this is going to be to the future of the relationship. You do that, you're going to make some progress. Carrie, I need you to follow up with me. Let me know what happened. Okay? Stick around. We've got other people with amazing situations. What people get themselves into. We'll be back.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Here I am, and welcome back. And yes, my feet do not touch the floor, so I'm always moving myself into the chair. I'm one of these short people, and that's okay. Just need a smaller chair. I've gotten an email from Steve, and he said really very little, but what he did say, it just opened up a new world for me. And he said, I'm terrified to ask you this, but what do you think about bronies? I heard you talk about it, and my son really relates to this. Now, I do some morning segments on some shows, and it's the same show every week and same time. And so I think he listens in. And I made a comment about My Little Ponies, the toys for girls, the little ponies with the big manes, and you brush their hair, and they have all kinds of fantasy lives, and they're coming back. But when I was searching for this, when I saw something about it, my eyes drifted down the screen, and I saw something about adult men and their love of My Little Pony. And I thought, whoa, what? This looks like something I need to get involved with here. Oh, there is another world out there that I know nothing about. And so as I looked into it, what happened was in 2010-11, the Hasbro people produced a movie called My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Now, dads and uncles and brothers, whatever, were watching with these little girls, and they really started to relate to it. In that period of 7 or 8 years, it has grown, this community of bronies, brothers who love My Little Ponies. I know already your skin's crawling. They have blossomed into a well-organized group of people. Now, they do very many positive things, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. And usually I have a very strong and well-founded opinion about things, but this is, nobody knows enough about them to make an opinion. They have an annual convention. 10,000 attendees are confirmed for this year's convention. This is becoming a serious player in terms of commerce. Now, apparently, what the sociologists are saying now and psychologists are saying now is that this may be what's called a new sincerity trend. And these guys are tired of terrorism. They're tired of being anxious and fearful, and they're looking to this community of these little girls and their little ponies as an escape. I'm thinking that looking at the average age of these guys being 21, they have been caught in these crushing claws of confusion for some men as to what it means to be a man and to be masculine. 86% of the bronies are male, between 15 and 30, and there are between 7 and 12.5 million bronies. This is getting to be a force to be reckoned with, and they are certainly having a social power play here. I was thinking when I saw how these guys were dressing up as their favorite pony and going to these conventions, what does any of this mean? And I thought about those plushie conventions where adults dress up like furry characters and then they act out their fantasies, which tend to be sexual. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I've never been to one of these things. These guys dress up and they go to the conventions and they meet up with the people who they know on the boards, and they share what they've learned, because what they're saying is that the reason that they love the movie is that because the characters don't have all the answers and they all work together to work it out. Well, this is a world of idealism. And if you are stressed and feel like you can't cope with this world, you're going to go to a world, maybe a Harry Potter world where everything turns out. For me, that's the Hallmark Channel and the Christmas movies. My husband says, when you're stressed, just watch one of those 100 movies you have recorded because it's pretty. Nobody usually gets hurt, maybe their feelings, but everything, it is an escape. But this is becoming a really pervasive lifestyle for these men. Now, apparently, most of them, there's a Netflix documentary about this, which I only saw part of and really found it very difficult to watch the rest. It is a community that they've created, and it doesn't appear to be pathological in any way. Indeed, they have funded animator scholarships to the tune of $50,000 at Cal Institute of Arts. They have funded programs for kids with cancer, kids who needed specialized treatment and couldn't afford it. They've held blood drives. They fund a wildlife center. They fund Red Cross activities. But I think I hit on it a little bit ago when I was talking with Mike, and that is my concern that predators will infiltrate their ranks and not only dash the dreams of these guys who are trying to create this mythical, wonderful world, but would also give predators an avenue in which to solicit contact with children. I'm going to put some of the articles that I read to come to some of my conclusions up on the show notes so you can read these for yourself. I did find the original community where they got started, and some of the language can be a little dicey, but overall, what they are looking to do is share what they've learned by watching this movie, and apparently there's another movie coming out, and how they can release their emotions. One study looked at the personality traits of these men and found that they were primarily driven by introversion, right? So they're not out there in society. They have strong intuition, which would make them sensitive to the emotions, and they have a thinking component and a judging component to their personalities. Now, looking at some of the content from the articles that I read, these young men were troubled by being treated unfairly by others. So they really don't feel like they're with the herd or the mainstream. And this is one of their ways to become social in a safe environment with people who share their interests. Now, some of these folks are actually in the military, and they wear something called cutie marks, and those are in quotes, on their uniforms, and I guess they're getting away with it. These are symbols of the personalities and the special features of the My Little Pony that they've adopted as maybe their avatar. Maybe I'm not using that term correctly, but it's kind of their symbol. And they wear these cutie marks on their uniforms. Okay, now the military is going to find out, and this is going to be kiboshed, but it to represent that they want to work as a team and they'll cover each other's backs. Now, these people are thought, these members, the bronies, and there's a sister element too called the Pegasus sisters. Yeah. That they are considered to be psychologically and developmentally normal. You know, we therapists don't use the term normal. Acceptable, typical, that kind of thing. But they're not in the majority of people who choose the activities associated with being male. I really do think it's a confusion situation, and we're going to have to let it evolve a little more to figure out how they mature and grow into themselves. But there are young boys and middle school boys, parents, one of the reasons I'm discussing this, who are being bullied because they are emerging bronies. So be careful about this. Teach your child some judgment about with whom they can share their interest in My Little Ponies, because it's a new situation here. Yet something else for you to think and worry about. When we come back, we're going to talk about Lily and her son who's graduating from high school, and she has no idea who he is anymore. That's pretty typical, Lily. We have some answers for you. We'll be right back. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Welcome back to the Dr. Claudia Show. Remember, you can always call me at 833-400-5050. 833-400-5050. You can go on drclaudia.net, drclaudia.net, and click on the Ask Me button. And you can also go to Facebook. And my page is Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH, cha-cha-cha. Oh, I wanted to... What? Oh, and like us on Facebook. And that way you'll get notified when the show is on so you don't miss anything. You can't afford to miss a thing. Did you know that Billy Bob Thornton is a brony? Yes. And his Billy Bob. Oh, Lord. His favorites are Fluttershy, who he said was his favorite because she talks like Marilyn Monroe, and Rainbow Dash. And William Shatner also thinks of himself as a brony. I can really buy that from you, Bill. So getting to Lily, because she's in a bit of a sticky wicket here. My son, now she sent this over the Ask Me button on drclaudia.net. My son is graduating from high school, and I swear I don't recognize him. Lily, we know what's going on. He's nasty, angry, starts fights over the smallest things, and is generally so irritable that no one wants to be around him. Every time we tried to discuss arrangements for going to college next year, he either ignores us or gets angry. Shouldn't this be a happy time? Well, you'd think, because we've worked for 13 years to get to this point. But what is happening here, Lily, and I understand your confusion, and we experienced it ourselves. I remember once walking down the hallway. My husband is coming toward me. I'm pointing at my watch, and I'm saying, is it time for him to leave yet? And the kid from the back room says, I heard that. I can't wait to get away from the two of you. It was a mutually agreeable see you later. What you're looking at here is that your son is giving birth to himself. Now, understand that when he was 3, you were fighting with him over the cookie, and when he was 16, you were fighting with him over the car keys. Developmental stages keep making a comeback. They're like the sequel that won't die. But when you get to graduation, he is probably still, because he's a teenager, he is still feeling really intense emotions. He's excited and he's terrified. Can I make the grade? I'm coming out of my skin. I don't know what all these feelings are about. Oh my gosh, I'm leaving my family. But, how is everybody going to like me? Am I going to pass the grades? So he's filled with all of these different emotions. And, I couldn't figure out why graduation was called commencement. And that's because you're commencing the next part of your life. And he really is taking a huge leap into the next part of his life. So this whole process takes months. There's no anesthesiologist or care team in sight, not like when you gave birth. Those squeals of joy from family and friends, and you're not going to have a shower about it, right? But you will definitely have the same kind of worry and sleepless nights and it's actually even worse because he's not in the crib down the hall. You don't have complete control over his life. You have done everything that you can possibly do for this kid. Dust off your hands, you're done. If you didn't teach it to him and if he didn't master it, he's going to have to get it out there in the world. So in terms of how you respond to all of this, when you were in labor with him and you were in intense distress emotionally and physically, you didn't blame him. You may have blamed your husband, but you didn't blame him because it's a natural process. You were taught that this is what you could expect. And it doesn't seem like you were taught about this next birthing process when he's giving birth to the adult within him. So don't take it personally. You didn't then, and you shouldn't now. So what we've noticed about kids, and there's a whole book related to this, is kids either go to college mad or sad. You want him to go away mad because kids who go away mad are really ready for the next phase of their lives. They can't wait to get away from you. They can't wait to get out of that birth canal. They can't wait to get out there and make their own decisions into that pseudo-adult world of college, right? Doesn't college remind you of kindergarten? It's a supervised environment. They get to make some of their own decisions, but they're still kind of confined, and there is kind of a quasi-parental authority operating there. So the ones who go away mad have a better chance of adjusting successfully than the kids who go away sad, because the kids who go away sad are actually grieving for the loss of their childhood, and they don't really seem to be embracing their new stage. So what you want to see is anger. This is exactly what I want this kid to look like. Get away from me. I want to get out there. I want to do it on my own. Don't take it personally. Walk away. It will end as soon as you and Dad drive away from the college. So remember, he's launching himself out of the womb, and he cried then, and he is yelling now. Either way, don't newborn babies look angry? I mean, they got that little pink face, and it's all scrunched up, and it's red, and they're screaming, and their little tongue is waggling in their mouth. Yeah, been there, done that. So, Lily, this whole idea of necessary losses, so listen carefully to this. This is going to kind of whack you in the face. What you may not know is that you are possibly giving him sad face signals. I'm so sad you're going away. No doing that at all. No, because you're having flashbacks and you're telling your husband, remember the first day we took him to kindergarten? Don't do that. Wait for him to be 40, 50, 60, 100 miles away before you start talking that stuff, because kids pick up on everything. When he moved from the crib to the big boy bed, that was a necessary loss. He had to leave the crib behind to move on to the big boy bed. You know, when you gave birth to him, left the placenta, it was now biological trash. Now he's out in the world. So think about this. Think about all the phases that you went through when he had to leave something behind. You know, the high chair, the skateboard, he moved to a car, he moved to his own chair at the table. You need to follow my lead on this. When you drop him off, you have your script ready. You smile, you hold him by the shoulders, and you say something like I said. I'm giving you the keys to your future. Drive safely. And I turned around and walked away. My husband went up to him, grabbed him, gave him the Papa Bear hug, and said, nice job. We're going to go home. I'm turning your bedroom into my office. See ya. We walked away, and everybody else was bawling and crying, and we got in the car and did the happy dance. So, Lily, do that. Okay? Enjoy what you've done. All right, just follow my lead. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
from the heart of all things family. Welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Come on in, sit down. Let's talk about your relationships with your kids, your spouse, your family, relatives. Nobody's off limits. I'm Dr. Claudia McCulloch, your host, answering your questions, America. Call me at 833-400-5050. I'm trying to adjust my microphone. Okay, so I can't do two things at once, apparently. Call me. Let's review this again, shall we, class? Call me at 833-400-5050, 833-400-5050. You can go online at drclaudia.net. That's drclaudia.net. Click on the Ask Me button and send me a question. You can also go on Facebook. And my page is Dr. Claudia McCulloch, MCCULLOCH, cha-cha-cha. We're a stage and screen act here, I swear. I came across something when I was looking for information regarding those bronies that we talked about last segment. I'm gobsmacked. My British friends say that, gobsmacked. Florida declares porn a public health crisis. I want to give you two facts that will knock your socks off. You will be gobsmacked. And they're saying that this is such a crisis that they've actually collected this data. We have dedicated well over 4.5 billion hours to watching porn on one site in 2016. Let me tell you what that translates into. And I'm saying this to you because it's not healthy. Anything that is engaged into this excess is not healthy. And we know that pornography has unfortunate side effects in terms of relationships and feelings of satisfaction with life in general. Just on Pornhub, humanity spent twice as much time viewing porn in a year as it has spent existing on planet Earth. The site had over 90 billion video views and 44,000 visitors every minute of every day. It all adds up to over 500,000 years worth of porn consumed in the span of 12 months. Since 2015, human beings have spent 1 million years watching pornography. Stop it. Just check yourself before you wreck yourself. I mean, we know. I don't know what to think about this. We're doomed. Anyway, in 2014, a German study revealed that the brains of men who consume a lot of pornography tend to be smaller in certain key areas and have fewer connections than those other men. So maybe they're seeing it as some kind of treatment. I don't know. I do know that Ted Bundy indicated that he got his start on violent pornography, and we see that even for the person who's not a serial killer, we see these behaviors dripping over into other relationships. So we're having an evolution revolution here. I tell you, it's a little scary. I love those kinds of big numbers. They really impact me. It's not good. Make certain that you understand what your child's potential exposure is to pornography, because the average age of first exposure, you ready? Take a deep breath with me. 11 years old. Yeah. I'm not even sure what to say about that, except dial it back, treat it like the addiction that it is, reduce your viewing by a minute for 1 month. Next month, it's another minute, so you can train yourself to back down from this, because it creates changes in the brain that are not particularly healthy. And I'm going to start this next topic, and it may drip over, but it's really important, and I really wanted to answer your question, Melanie. And so Melanie sent me an Ask Me question. I read your article on school shootings, and I wrote an extensive article, and thousands of people read it. And my friends and I talked about it. All of our kids are in the same middle school, and we're very worried about some of the kids, but we've been told we don't have any training to make a complaint. This is how we get into these situations. We don't listen to each other. I live next to one, and when you said it's necessary to have a hotline for the community to report concerns, it hit home. What else can we do? We mothers have a presence in the school in terms of volunteering, etc. We're frustrated and worried. What do we do? Okay, so I'll put this up on the show notes so you can get to it quickly. I made the assumption, whenever I hear myself saying, oh, I know this, it's like, eek, put on the brakes. Do you really know? I thought that school shootings were a recent phenomenon. In fact, the first one I remember was Charles Whitman at the University of Texas, and he turned out to have a brain tumor. He knew something was wrong with him, and the site of the brain tumor and the dynamics of the brain tumor were such that it created unfathomable violence, and this guy killed his wife and many, many other people. And if you've ever seen footage of that whole thing, it is terrifying. So I proposed how to protect the kids, first of all, from the outside of the school and then the inside of the school. And I saw an article about America's safest school, and I just about choked because, and I'll review that in a minute, but I've been in schools for 45 years. I've been in schools as a teacher in training, as a school psychologist, as a person who worked with emotionally disturbed children. And when I went into practice, I was always in schools doing observations, attending meetings. And my closest friend has been a guidance counselor, and she recently retired. And we would share stories because who else would believe us? So we used each other to say, wow, this happened today. Have you ever seen this kind of thing? And it can really be a war zone. And boy, I've experienced that up close and personal. But I talked about the layers of protection that we need. We have 37,000 public and private high schools. But we've also seen these violent crimes committed at middle schools and at elementary schools. So I was calling for basically a branch of the military where, if you're a conscientious objector or you're a pacifist or whatever you are, you can go into the part of the military that protects the schools, because we need that kind of presence, I believe. You're entitled completely to your opinion. If it's different or if you endorse mine, then let me know. But what I was also saying is there's so much more that we're not doing in terms of prevention. And that's what these mothers are talking about. And that is, we don't even have a sense of the scope of the problem. By making it possible right now for school psychologists, guidance counselors, and teachers, I don't want to hear from administrations. Principals on up? No, because you've got a different agenda than the teachers have. The teachers know who's problematic. They've seen it for years. They're just holding their breath. I don't think we should arm teachers. As a teacher, if you're teaching, that's a different mindset than when you are in combat, which is what these situations really require, as a combat mentality. I think that we need to I'd love to see the CDC, and they can get a bunch of high schoolers to throw this up probably. I'm sure my son, if he's watching this, is going to go, oh God, Mom, it takes so much more than that. But throw up a website to where teachers can sign in using their Social Security numbers, so we can check to make sure that they're still working as teachers, because we can just double check their income tax returns. And they need to be able to say, this is the kid I'm worried about. This is what I've seen. And then send out an emergency response team to start an analysis here. Do a threat assessment. Is this kid, does he have the same profile, or she? We haven't seen a female yet, and that may start some, wheels churning here, but hopefully we will not see girls doing this kind of thing. But they need to be able to report. Now, at that point, we will be able to get a sense of the scope of the kids that we're worried about. Just think about this. If there is one kid in each of these private or public high schools that 2, maybe 3 teachers are concerned about, that's 37,000 potential shooters. Are you hyperventilating yet? As I worked through this article, I certainly got there. But I'm going to tell you a little more about the prevention end of it. We're about intervention, which is so expensive in so many ways. We're not about prevention. Come on back. Let me tell you what I'm thinking, and we can discuss it. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727. Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
The Dr. Claudia Show
back.
educates and informs.
Okay, technical difficulties. I so love the live show. It's just so much fun. So anyway, welcome back. And I realized that I'm taking a different tact than a lot of other people are taking, because they're looking at, let's get guns in the school. Let's get people to protect the school. And I believe in that, because you know what? These bad people show up, mentally ill people show up with guns. And, I'd rather have a good guy with a gun than a bad guy with a gun. And I can say that about several instances in my life Anyway, took a long time for the cops to come. And it took a long time for the cops to show up and do their jobs at Parkland. And we're starting to hear some of the personal and professional failings. But I want to focus on prevention. And you'll see some of this information in the article when you read it. So I want to get, as I was saying before, a sense of the scope of the problem, because I think that will spur people to get moving a little bit faster on this. Because do you realize that the first school shooting, I fell down. I could not believe this, was in 1764. Now, it really did qualify kind of as a war situation, as a Pontiac War with the Pontiac Indians. Of course, they were always trying to kill us. But the guys who settled the country were always trying to kill us off. But anyway, this group of Indians charged the school and killed the children, but they shot the teacher. And that was the first school shooting. We have had 473 school shootings. We had one in the 1700s, 37 in the 1800s. You look at the graph I've given you there. What's terrifying, however, the 1970s, we had 30. The 80s, we had 39. 1990s, we had 62. The 2000s, we had 63. And in the 2010s, we've had 145. And the death tolls are increasing because of the automatic weapons. So I am saying to you that in many cases now that I've seen so far, and I laid this plan out and this information out, that these kids have been identified early in their development as autistic. And I contacted the Autism Speaks, and I said, why aren't you people out campaigning against this? Well, we put out a notice. That's like when those 40 girls were abducted. We had a tweet storm, bring back our girls. Does nothing. I don't see anybody armed at these schools to really take these kids out. I mean, who are bringing the weapons. Yes, there are armed people there, but somehow we're not using the military tactics we need to use to understand these shooters. So that's what I'm saying to you. We need to hire more counselors, more school psychologists. Let the school psychologists do their job. This is not political. This is about saving lives. School psychologists and guidance counselors and the teachers are hushed by administration. Oh, you can't say this. No, you can't say that. Yes, I can. I think this kid is a danger. I'm dialing 911 now. Fire me. How many times have I had to do that? And I've never been fired. So, when the cops showed up, everybody, they were all happy. So let the school psychologists in particular and the guidance counselors, these are people who are on site with mental health training. They know some things. Now, they're mostly into the college counseling and helping kids in crisis and evaluating kids for learning disabilities. The scope of the school psychologist is going to have to be expanded. I'm saying this because I worked as one for a very long time, and this is basically what I did in private practice. Now, we need emergency assessment teams, but I think the thing that's really going to do the most good is to have a group of mental health clinicians. I'm not talking about school psychologists, but clinicians who are licensed and who work under the guidelines of the ethics, not the bureaucracies that are always trying to cover their tushes and make their images look so wonderful. You saw what happened with Nicholas Cruz. how many times I could call my dearest friend who spent 40 years as a school guidance counselor, and she could tell you all the times she wanted to intervene, and it went badly because administration wouldn't let her. And how many times her staff and the people at the schools that I was at, we just held our breath to wait till this kid moved away or was imprisoned or arrested or something and didn't show up and did harm. So one of the things we need to do is to have intense evaluation of kids in middle schools, because this is where the problems really start to show up. The way the brain works is that in adolescence, there's a lot of reorganization in the brain, and we start to see the signs of some of the more dangerous psychiatric disorders. And I'm saying that a team needs to come in and interview both parents, talk about the developmental histories, and see where these kids are going. These kids who are committing these crimes are not autistic. They are very likely to be schizotypal, which is a combination of schizophrenia and autistic-like behaviors. We need to get serious about the mental health component of this. I laid out the plan. If we followed it, it's going to take years for us to see the results, which is why we need the heavy metal protection. But we cannot keep turning these kids out onto society, because three of them have been college students who have run amok and killed many people. We've got to do a better job. I trust we can do it. I will be right back to answer your questions. And if you don't have any, we'll move along. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia is ready to answer your questions. Call now, 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050.
Do you need a car? Been shopping only to be turned down because of bad credit, low credit, no credit, bankruptcy, or divorce? Guess what? Today's your lucky day, because now you can buy a car, truck, or SUV, just about any vehicle. It's true. Bad credit doesn't matter. No credit doesn't matter. Bankruptcy or divorce, it just doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, your job is your ticket to your new vehicle. We're Auto Credit Express, and we've helped thousands of people just like you. Antonio H. told us, great company, got me connected, and the day I went in, I drove off in the car I wanted. 100% worth your time. Need a car? Get started now and drive off as early as today. Just go to 2ignoremyscore.com right now. That's www.2ignoremyscore.com. Auto financing the easy way. 2ignoremyscore.com. Get started today. Auto financing the easy way.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, when you give out, especially for the porn, don't give out the website. Just say a major, because it's almost like we're giving Pornhub.
Everybody knows it's Pornhub.
Yeah. What? Pornhub? Shout out!
Commercial break. Pornhub in the house.
Because you know all the kids listening in the car are like, mental note, Pornhub.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Claudia Show. Remember to follow me and Pornhub.
Yeah, Pornhub.
And like us
if you want some more great tidbits and advice on websites.
You know what? I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
Bye. See you later.
Like me on Facebook. I'll share more porn sites that you shouldn't be able to visit. Pornhub. Shouldn't go there. YouPorn. Probably shouldn't go there.
YouPorn? What's YouPorn?
Like Pornhub.
Oh. And how do you know all this stuff?
Tons of them.
Oh my God. Oh gosh.
4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yes. 35, we're back.
Jeez. I'm going to go.
I'm going to move my car.
track. Yeah. I bet the wife is happy. I bet the mother's happy. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. When I'm done with this, I have to finish answering Melanie's question. We're going to do bits and pieces. Okay.
On the next segment?
Yeah, on the next segment.
Okay, the last one.
Right. So
Okay,
be ready.
gotcha.
Oops.
Cool.
Where is everybody?
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
And welcome back. I'm going to finish talking or answering Melanie's question because nobody else has questions. Apparently, we've answered all of your questions about this subject. Part of what happens with people is that sometimes the kids who commit these types of crimes, we didn't expect it, and that's because we look at each other with rose-colored glasses. And I remember being in court one day. I was there because of a child abuse case. It was gruesome. You don't need to hear the details. And one of the attorneys was pounding on me about something about how can you tell who's a child abuser? And I said, I can't tell if you're a child abuser. Woohoo! And then the judge got in on it. And yeah, I almost ended up in a holding cell again. But it didn't happen that time. But you can't really tell. I mean, if people knew that Ted Bundy was who he was, you know, they would have never gotten into his VW with him. But so when we know people, we think we know people, but we really don't, is basically it. And we would just want to think the best of them. And that's where the optimism bias comes in. So, Melanie, I know people are saying, you know, come on, Dr. Claudia, get to it. What can she do? Because we've got these same issues. I want you to go to the school psychologist, maybe just you, maybe one of the other ladies. Go to the guidance counselor, and they are likely to say, there's really nothing I can do. The principal, you know, blah, 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 because the principal is in charge of the full physical facility, and that means all the little critters in it. So you really do have to make your way up through the bureaucracy. Then I would go see the director of special education. And what you're going to do each time is you're going to submit back to these people with whom you met a memo of understanding. Oh, mercy, they don't like this because they know that you are documenting your attempts to call attention to a child who's having difficulties. And yes, I don't care if they're 18-year-old seniors and they're 6'2", they're still children and they're having difficulties. If you need to consult with someone about this, you might want to call a special education attorney. And on the show notes, I am going to list an organization where you are likely to get someone to answer the phone. And in today's climate, they're likely to give you some freebie advice on the fly. So that would be worthwhile. Then go see the superintendent. Each time you have a meeting or some kind of conversation, I want you to follow up with a written document, which just proves, see, adults don't like things in writing because it means you mean business. And they're just holding their breath till this kid moves to the next school. And then we get this whole horrible history of, well, you know, 66 times somebody's called the police on this kid. You know, we're learning by doing, and that's not the way this should be happening. When you leave the superintendent's office, I want you to hand him or her a letter outlining all that you have done, all of your concerns, and if you really need to, look them straight in the eye and say, if something isn't done and we have a violent event, I'm going to make sure this letter gets to every family of the victims. And, you'll see the blood drain a little bit from their faces, but oh well. I'd rather they be intimidated than have the SWAT team have to roll up. You might also want to consider calling the child abuse hotline. Now, Melanie, you said you live next door or near one of the young men that you're most concerned about. If you think this child is not getting the help that he needs, you're hearing violent confrontation after violent confrontation. This goes beyond the police department. This now goes into the hands of the child abuse authorities. And there is a county-wide hotline. I'm sure whatever county you live in, if you live in Suzy County, Suzy County Child Abuse Hotline, and an 800 number will come up. They will not ask you to identify yourself. And if they do, just say, I'm unwilling to say something. And you let them know, give them specific information. And let them judge for themselves if they need to do an investigation. Because if a kid isn't getting mental health services and he's acting out at home and he's intimidating people in the community, do your best to make it sound like a mental health behavioral problem and not a police problem. If this student is in special education, you can contact the special education local planning agency. How do I know this stuff? Because I've been telling parents for years, this is how you do this. If you have a kid you're concerned about, this is what we need to do in order to draw attention to help this young man. We're not specifically interested in putting this kid in jail, but we also don't want to see bodies around, and we don't want to hear the horror stories, and the prayers and thoughts are with you. When you're deeply grieving because something has happened that could have been prevented, that's a whole different level. That's a whole other flavor of anger and grief. Prove to be relentless. Now, I had a special education director in a hot meeting one day. There were about 30 people in there. And she said to me, she was so irate. She said, I know what the R stands for in your name, because I'm Claudia R. McCulloch. And I said, oh, yeah, give it to me. She said, relentless. And I said, thank you. What a compliment. If you are relentless, something will happen. And yes, you are likely to take a hit for it socially. Do you care? I don't care. If you are working toward the greater good and protecting kids, nope, that should not be an issue. What we've had now is a pretty extreme body count. And we have police with actual police stations in the schools, and kids are still able to get off an amazing number of shots before anybody can bring them under control. And I haven't heard yet from anybody who's bought one of the bulletproof backpacks. If you have, I'd like to see what you think about those. Now, I referenced earlier that I saw an article called Preparing America Inside the Safest School in the Nation. I don't think so. Wow. One of the things that they have done is they have panic buttons strapped to the teachers. Okay, that's an after the fact. I have worn one of those panic buttons every time I've gone into a prison or the California Youth Authority or some psychiatric wards. And that's not going to deter anybody. Oh, whoop-de-doo, you have a panic button, and I have an AK-47 or an AR-15 or, an M16, which happens to be my favorite. And they're saying, wow, really touting ourselves. We've got smoke cannons. How does that help? They have real-time tracking of suspects after the fact, after your kid has been killed. Automatic lockdown and bulletproof doors. Well, what happens when the hallways are full of kids, which is what happened here. And notification system for teachers to let authorities know their classroom is safe. I don't know who these people are who think that this is actually going to work. We need perimeter support. We need interior support. And we need to get started big time, major league, on the prevention piece of this. What kids are most likely looking at their profile? This isn't a mystery to us. We know what kinds of kids are going to act out like this, especially if we have a community-based hotline where students and neighbors and other people who are concerned about these kids can call in and say, I'm worried about this kid. You know, not only am I worried about his health and well-being, but I'm worried about the other people around him or her. So let's get working on that. You know, it's much easier to give vaccinations for polio than to treat someone for polio, because, you know, the medical community is only going to look at the numbers in terms of how much medical care these people are going to need. But we have to look at the human misery index. Well, when we come back, we're going to pick it up. It's going to be a little bit lighter. Claudia, seriously, how much worse can it get when we're talking about school shootings? It seems to be out of our control, but if you were to cut and paste what I think is the best plan and send it to your legislators, your voice will be heard. So don't just stand there. Do something. This is the Dr. Claudia Show.
Dr. Claudia wants to hear from you. Ask your question. 833-400-5050. That's 833-400-5050. Or go online at drclaudia.net and click on the Ask Me button.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727.
Live from the heart of all things family, welcome to the Dr. Claudia Show. Here's Dr. Claudia.
Yes, I am Dr. Claudia, and we are back. And I wanted to answer a quick question that came over the Ask Me button. And it's a sensitive question, so I thought I'd get to it right now. Debbie said that she's concerned about her little girl having just one friend. As it turns out, that's really all you need, Debbie. Now, you didn't say how old she was, but studies show that kids do not have to have a whole herd of friends in order for life to be satisfying. So when you look at these kids who basically had one friend or a very small group of friends as they grew up, by the time they reach age 25, they have a lower level of depression and anxiety than other kids who were more broadly popular. One friendship is really all it takes to give you sound psychological health, increased coping skills, increased motivation, and increased academic performance. I talked about, maybe I'll bring this up again the next show, about what happens when you are popular in school and how that's not a particularly good thing. Not that we want you to be ostracized, but yeah. Anyway, we are going to hit the Bits and Pieces by the Dave Clark 5. You guys are all too young to remember that, but it's a really good song. It's really hard rocking, isn't it? Anyway, this is the Bits and Pieces, and some interesting information and some fun stuff. Let's start with the fun stuff. Let's move right out of the school shootings into Girl Scout cookies. And you see these little darlings all over the place, and wow, do they have some great salesmanship. Woo, these little demons in these little green uniforms, and really vigorous about their pursuits. What I did not know is that depending on where you buy or where you live and where you buy your Girl Scout cookies, they can taste dramatically different. I mean, has that just shocked you? So here's the deal. In Orlando, Girl Scouts s'mores are coated in chocolate with a barely there layer of vanilla marshmallow on a large graham cracker. In Miami and the rest of Florida, however, the same cookie is presented sandwich style with frosting and fudge and hints of maple flavor. So this is so fascinating because there are actually two versions of your favorite Girl Scout cookies, and where you live determines the kind that you have. So it was the LA Times who did this report that ABC bakers and then Little Brownie bakers crank out more than 200 million boxes of GS cookies, baby. And then we eat them. And that's the whole problem. I always donate because I cannot stay away from the cookies. So I just give them a $5 and go, hey, have fun. Do not let me near those cookies. So this is really fascinating. I know this is just nonsense stuff, but I'm going to post this map on of the Girl Scout cookies on the show notes, so you can check that out after the show and see where you are and how your cookies rate. I mean, they are dramatically different, especially Caramel Delights and Samoas. I don't know. What are your favorites? Do you have favorites?
Thin Mints and
Thin Mints.
the coconut one.
Okay, those must be the Samoas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Samoas.
Peanut butter patties. Anything peanut butter. Mints? You like mint?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you like mint chocolate chip ice cream, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. I love the taste of mint, but don't put it in something. I like a mint that you pop in your mouth. Okay, here's something you can use. Now, your kids are getting ready to finish school. You've got to have something meaningful for them to do during the summer. I have got an article here for the best job sites for teen job seekers. And remember, well, okay, I'm going to post this other thing too. I have an article that I wrote that's called What to Do While You're Waiting for a Job. And I have had astonishing success with this. And that is by getting kids to volunteer. And they just show up and maybe they're just emptying the trash or going for the coffee run. but they get to be invisible, which means they get to actually see what the job entails. And then they may come home and go, oh my, I'm never becoming a lawyer. All they do is sit all day and read and write. And I'm not doing that, because many of us have been contaminated. I'm just going to say it, contaminated by what the jobs look like on television, the dramatization of a job. Oh, no. And it's light years different from the job that you're trained for. Now, I had a pretty good sense of what I wanted, what a psychologist's job looked like, but the specialty I went into, assessments, I was in court, I was in a holding cell twice, because I was trying to make my point. I was strongly advocating, and I couldn't stop talking. So if a judge sees this show, he's going to say, she still won't be quiet. So anyway, I'm going to put this article that I wrote called What to Do While You're Waiting for a Job. And this other one, the best job sites for teen job seekers. And let's see if we can get your kid a job this summer so that they know what it is like to make money, possibly, have all of those taxes taken out, Social Security and the Medicare tax, you know, the FICA tax. So this is a slap across the face of reality of what it is to get up, dress up, show up, do the job with a positive attitude and a genuine effort. So let's just make sure we get that done. Oh, and something very distressing. Experts are saying chocolate could be impossible to produce by 2050. I think I might not be here by then, so the rest of you are going to have to live with this. Because what is happening is that the chocolate shortage is looming because the cocoa beans can only grow in mild, humid rainforest conditions, and because of our climate changing, the areas where we can grow the cocoa beans is shrinking dramatically. And when you consider that the average American eats close to 10 pounds of chocolate per year, you know the average Swiss person eats 20 pounds? Oh, my heavens. One bar of chocolate depletes 40 cocoa beans from the supply. So get it while you can. I'll take some with me when I go. There is something really clever going on. And I saw this online, and there is a side profile selfie campaign because too many people are embarrassed about their noses. And so I have been looking for a way to figure out who is doing this and how we can submit ours. And I think everybody here at the Dr. Claudia Show, we need to submit our side profile selfies so that everybody knows, you know, your nose is great. Just keep it. Thank you for joining us. This has been so much fun. You can always reach me on Facebook, drclaudia.net, 833-400-5050. And, you know, be good to each other today. You'll feel so much better for it. This isn't goodbye. This is just see you later. And this is the Dr. Claudia Show. We'll see you next time.
The Dr. Claudia Show educates and informs. No therapeutic relationship is established between the listener and Dr. Claudia. No liability will be assumed by Dr. Claudia or this station for any alleged damage. For professional help, please consult a specialist.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-308-4727. That's 800-308-4727. 800-308-4727.